morning, everyone. All righty, let's see what we got here. All right, I see 6 in here, but I'm not sure if there are actually 6 here or not, or whether we have some trolls hopping in. Oh, live stream, let's see if I can get on there. All right, so let's go up to the comments. And so we got a lot of comments here. Up to the top. First one in was Phelan Klein Wolf. Oh, before that, I want to make sure anybody coming in, yeah, be sure to say hello and hit the thumbs up and button. All right. Let me hide that. Okay, so. And so Phelan Klein Wolf came in. Then Cruise 1351. Back to the love story. And they're checking on each other around, asking questions how each other are doing. And Troop 1351 came in as well. And Vanessa Kitty came in. Hey, Vanessa. All right. Yep. Now we're up to my thing up here in the corner up here on StreamYard says we now have 7 people in here. So, all righty. So we're switching gears here. We hit a point here where we really can't go any farther until we cover some of the stuff over here in this book, because there are some major crossovers going on here. And so let's see. Hydrate, everybody. Stay hydrated. All right. So with that, we're going to go over and I'm going to go ahead and shoot me up to the corner up here and bring up the story here. And so, yeah, we're in book 2. Actually, let me take it all the way to the top here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There we go. And so, yes, Scout the Ninja. Ninja is silent. Yes. All right. So, and then down here to prologue. Okay. Oh, very important here. Specifically now in this book, there's going to be stuff showing up that is, hang on, let me put myself down here again. I gotta pull something up here really quick if I can find it here, because I have to read the, I think it's in this one here. Hopefully it'll come up. I still need to fix this one here with the introduction and ground rules. Okay. All right, bring it back up here. So introduction and ground rules. The world has survived many disasters over its existence. Some have been called extinction events, others cataclysmic. In the theory of the multiverse, these events can cause, and some believe they have caused, splitting of timelines or the creation of alternate dimensions or universes. Sometimes these events can cause a single split, other times multiple splits. Some believe that people's visions are glimpses of these other timelines. Others believe that some novelists, and it's not just novelists, show, writers and stuff for show contents and stuff, and everything else, somehow tap into these timelines for inspiration of their storylines. Some believe that some stories are historical, are a history of certain events from other timelines. That we might one day be able to travel between timelines. However, the implications of that theory gives me headaches. And a conversation on that would take years and volumes enough to fill several libraries. It is enough to say that this Against the Wind Saga stories take place in such a timeline split alternate universe. All right, so, For most of us, if we were to shift between our current timeline and the ATWS timeline, we would not know many differences. If any, others might spot differences that stand out like Rudolph's green nose. With this in mind, remember that some businesses and organizations may have different names or responsibilities and organizational structures. Some persons may be born years or decades before or after they are born here. Some die younger while others live much longer. They may marry different people or the same as we know in our timeline. Whatever the reason, don't get mired in thinking that things have to happen the way they are in this timeline or our timeline. The same single word can inspire one person or demoralize another. Warning, warning, danger, Will Robinson. Special powers may or may not exist in different timelines. Okay, so with that reminder going on, now we'll jump into it here and see where a scout is silent takes us on a bit of a twist as things go along here. So let's get back up here, and here it is. Prologue, the story so far. In mid-September, the news has just released. Hang on here. I knew I forgot it. Yeah. Mainstream, STREA, stream. Mainstream news has just released information that an asteroid 2/3 the size of the moon is headed towards the Earth. Scientists say that in 33 days, like I said, I need to make sure it will pass by and miss the Earth, and there is nothing to fear. It is revealed that the asteroid will pass between the Earth and the Moon, causing tidal waves over 300 feet. The government scrambles to evacuate the coastal areas of the country and relocate those to newly rehabilitated towns in the Midwest and other locations. Michael Moore, raised in the foster home of Benjamin and Janet Clark with several other children, is now the last child they are caring for. He is an Eagle Scout, high school archery champion, and is so straight-laced the girls call him Super Scout. Kimberly Jackson, raised by her parents who do any sport she wanted to as long as she didn't quit. Among others, she has studied Jeet Kune Do, Kento, karate, and historic archery. Her left eye was damaged in a junior high chemistry class accident and has to wear an eye patch over it. Then her father was, that's not supposed to be capitalized. Come on. Oh, yeah, it is supposed to be capitalized. Killed in action. KIA. Okay. Was killed in action. Just 2 years ago. When these two run headlong into each other, the arrows fly fast and furious. Cupid's arrows, that is, when they fall head over heels for each other. Their resolve is tested repeatedly. Kimberly's mother wants to go to her cousin's farm. Michael's parents, after much reluctance to their relationship, want the Jacksons to come to their cabin. Gangs are starting to run wild in the city as they try to gather the supplies they need to survive. As the asteroid passes the Earth, there are numerous earthquakes. California is very hard hit, and the Los Angeles area collapses into a caldera of a new supervolcano. And to top everything off, a vicious motor gang wants to set up near their cabin. And now the saga continues. A ninja is silent. Chapter 1, Thursday. What has really happened? October. Hang on. I need to modify things here because I had to do this at the end of the other one because 2037. There we go. Found that things needed to fit a little bit differently. There we go. All right, October 22nd, 2037, the evening of the first day after it passes. Previously in Scout is Trustworthy, a little bit of the last chapter. That evening, Janet was showing Monica and Susan how to use the Instapot electric pressure cooker. Michael, Benjamin, and Peyton were going over the Google Map printouts of the area, marking which 4 service roads they needed to block and which ones they needed to keep open. Kimberly said that she needed some alone time and was outside practicing her martial arts. Michael glanced up from the maps and looked out the window of the cabin and saw Kimberly going through a series of steps, weaves, flips, kicks, strikes, and poses. To him, it was as if he had never seen her before. The graceful and fluid movements were like unto a ballet. Suddenly, she ran forward several steps and vaulted into the air in a swan dive move, and then tucked into a ball an instant before she hit the ground. Rolled twice before she exploded straight up into the air about 12 feet. She made a strange stance in the air as she came down, slower than he thought she should. And when she touched the ground, she became a high-speed fighter, seemingly striking and kicking blows in 6 different directions at once. After she'd done this for about 10 seconds, Kimberly suddenly launched into back handsprings across the yard, then just suddenly stopped in a handstand. She held it for several seconds and slowly lowered her legs, bending sharply at her waist until her toes touched the ground. Then she stood up and proceeded into fast, sharp movements and poses. Michael thought now she looked like a female Jackie Chan in her movements. Suddenly she slowed down and was moving like she was in slow motion as she went through positions and strikes. Then she did a slow motion back handspring and reversed it and did a forward handspring. Dang, she's good, Peyton said. She sure is, Benjamin added. No wonder you were distracted. Kimberly stopped, standing straight and still for several seconds. Then she slapped the sides of her thighs, bowed, held the bow for about 10 seconds, then dropped into a squat and rocketed into a triple backflip, landing in her trademark splits. Both Peyton and Benjamin groaned loudly as their faces scrunched up in sympathetic pain and their hands went involuntarily to their groins. Michael chuckled. I'm finally getting used to watching her do that. Kimberly smiled at her success in doing a triple backflip. But instead of lifting herself up by pulling her legs together, she tipped to the side, and when her shoulder touched the ground, she rolled onto her shoulders and spun like a street break dancer, but with kicks and punches. Suddenly she stopped and stared at the sky, and then she shouted, Michael, Mom! Michael knew instantly that something was very wrong and was running for the door. He was out the door before the others were moving. He cleared the front porch and looked to where Kimberly was still staring at. Still staring at. He nearly tripped and fell when he saw what it was in the sky that held her attention. Shoot. Okay. Got a bunch of these I'm going to have to correct. Hopefully it's just in the first part. There we go. Babe, Kimberly said slowly, is this as bad as I think? I don't know, but it scares me, Michael choked out. As the others came from the cabin and joined them looking at the sky, the sight before them was both beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Are those asteroids from the asteroid belt? Susan asked. I think they are, Benjamin said. Just so long as they stay up there, Kimberly said. Well, dinner is just about done, Janet said as she turned to go back inside. As they walked back towards the front porch, Michael spoke hopefully. They appear to be small and burning up high in the atmosphere. Again, just so long as they stay up there, Kimberly said. And now, a ninja is silent. I don't think that they're going to, Benjamin said. And then, as to punctuate Benjamin's concern, a meteor passed just several feet over their heads and exploded before going out of view. Shit, screamed Susan as she took off running for the cabin. Everyone else followed suit at a fast walk or jog except for Kimberly. She stood where she was looking up towards the east. When Michael got to the door, he turned around expecting to see her right behind him and was surprised when he saw her still back where she was before, still staring at the night sky. Oh, crap, Michael hissed and started running back for her. Kimberly, he yelled, breathe, babe, breathe. Without moving her gaze, Kimberly slowly raised her left hand to her shoulder and thrust it palm out towards Michael, indicating for him to stop. Confused but trustingly, Michael stopped and just watched her. After several minutes, someone came up beside him and glanced over. He glanced over and saw it was Monica. She had me stop here, he whispered. After a few seconds, Monica spoke. She's counting. They watched her for a few more minutes. Then she waved made like she was writing on a notepad. Michael turned and ran back into the house to get one and a pencil. When Michael entered the house, Janet asked him, "Is Kimberly okay?" "I think so." Monica said she was counting, but there are a lot of meteors to count. He said as he rushed to the desk and grabbed a notepad and pencil. He turned and headed towards the door. She might be counting just the ones that are passing directly over us. I don't know. Michael ran out the door to Kimberly, and when he got to her, he extended the notepad for her. But she didn't take it. "Write these numbers down," she said, and began giving Michael a list of numbers and letters. When Kimberly finally came in, Benjamin had informed everyone that he heard on the ham radio that a couple of volcanoes had erupted near Denver and Fort Carson, and the Space Command facility there was being buried under a massive amount of ash. Some said that they didn't know how long they could broadcast, but they could not escape the area. Later, Susan and Peyton were folding the laundry from Michael's and Kimberly's trailer that he and Larry had used while Larry's mobile home was being set up. Monica and Michael were Monica and hang on here. Yeah, Monica and Michael were using the Instapot to make some rice pudding for dessert. Benjamin was in the shower. Janet was pretending to read a recipe book, but she was really watching Kimberly intently, as she had been working furiously on her laptop for 30 minutes with various models of whatever it was she was trying to figure out. Then she stopped her data entry and manipulation and stared at the screen with the occasional clicking of a mouse. Now Janet would notice that Kimberly would also stare at Michael for several seconds and then back at the laptop. Although she would do it without moving her head so that anyone watching her would think she was just looking at the laptop the entire time. That is, unless they were watching her eyes, which is what Janet was doing. After several minutes of trying to figure out what was on Kimberly's mind, a light bulb went off in Janet's head. She turned slightly, set the recipe book down, pulled a file folder from the cubbies in the desk, stood up, took several steps to the dining room table, sat down across from Kimberly and stared at her. When Kimberly's eyes came back from Michael, she caught Janet's stare. What? She asked quietly. Janet held up the folder so Kimberly could read the tab on it. Marriage license and certificate. You're debating asking Michael to use this, aren't you? Hang on here. I gotta fix this one here. Delete space 1, 2, 3. Whatever conclusion you came to while you were working on your computer, it's pushing you to the breaking point, isn't it? A little bit. Janet leaned forward and spoke softly. If there's a good chance that you and or Michael could die tonight, I think you should ask to get married. Kimberly opened her mouth to speak, but Janet held up an index finger. I would hate myself if that happened and I didn't tell you that I want you to use it. I couldn't live with myself if you two were deprived of each other, of having each other at least once because of the promise you made, because I wasn't trusting enough to believe you two are really in love with each other. Take Michael and go out on the front porch and talk about it. Kimberly took a quick breath and sat back in her chair, closed her eyes for several moments. Everyone, I need you to come hear what I have calculated and tell me what you think. This was not what Janet expected. When everyone was circled around the dining room table, Kimberly spoke. I've been doing some calculations using a program I downloaded when I first heard that there might be smaller asteroids being dragged behind the big one. And with what we saw tonight, there are. What this program does, or is supposed to do, is show likely patterns and paths and impact sites based on input data. Kimberly sat back, AGA again, with a frustrated grunt. Obviously, I don't have that much data from what I have observed. Yes, we have what we heard on the ham radio about how far the main asteroid passed from Earth, its trajectory, speed, and all that. What I don't have is the numbers of the other asteroids. Mass of each one, their speed, gravitational pull, trajectories, and spread of the asteroids. She took a deep breath, folded her arms across her chest, and blew it out. The only thing that I can say with any certainty is that the angle of impact is changing as the world rotates. Right now, they're coming in at a moderately low angle, but by 10:30 or 11, they will be coming almost straight down until hang on. Yeah, got too many ones in there. Get rid of that one. Until 12:30 or 1, then they will start coming in from the west until 3 or 4 in the morning. Tomorrow they will start about 6 o'clock and end about the same time. And in about the same time. Hang on, this doesn't make sense here. Let me fix this one, folks. It's tomorrow morning or the next morning. Okay. I think that sounds a little bit better. Why is that? Susan asked. Are they changing the way they are traveling? Well, sort of. Actually, the Earth is changing its position by rotating. Just as the sun hits us at different angles, different times of the day, Kimberly answered. Oh, duh. Silly me, of course. Susan blushed. Not so silly, Kimberly countered. Some of the small asteroids may get caught by the Earth's or the moon's gravitational pull and get pulled into a new and unexpected trajectory, or even into a decaying orbit. They could come down during the daytime, or weeks or months from now, Peyton added, or slingshot around the moon and hit the Earth with greater speed and devastation, Benjamin said as he came up the hallway wearing pajamas and a robe. So what are your thoughts on this? I think that tonight and tomorrow night will be the big factor for us. Maybe the next night too. What do you mean? Michael asked. If an asteroid is going to kill one or all of us, it'll be during the next 3 nights, she said flatly. Although I could be wrong about the number of nights they will be falling. And Kimberly looked annoyed at Michael. Michael, I love you so much, but if you say another word, any word, before I ask you to speak, I will drag you to your room and ride you like a cheap bike with bent wheels for the rest of the night. Everyone sucked a breath, and Kimberly just glared at Michael. Michael got wide-eyed, and as he thought that he must have said something wrong. Then he noticed the folder in front of his mom, and he knew what it was immediately. He walked around his mom, took the folder with a pen on it. He opened it up, glanced over the papers inside, removed them, spread them out at the table, and signed and dated them. Then he slid them over to his mom. Janet was shocked when Michael took the folder and signed the marriage license and certificates. But when he slid the forms to her instead, he figured he was warning Kimberly. Janet signed and dated the forms, then pulled 2 out and dated and signed those and slid those over to Michael. Michael was confused when his mom slid 2 new forms over to him until he read the ages for him and Kimberly. These were the ages on the new IDs that Douglas Cooper had gotten for them. Michael quickly signed and dated those as well and put them back in the folder. Michael held the folder out to Kimberly. I love you so much it hurts at times, but I can't stand you see you anguishing when a natural disaster threatens us. I know you can handle anything that man can throw at us, but you fear nature. If you want to have sex, I will support you. But we will be married first. If you want to wait, I will support you. I will support you in any choice you make. If you want to go outside with a baseball bat to fight asteroids, I'll be right there by your side with one too. He took a quick, deep breath, but please don't shut me down. Kimberly looked at Michael as her eyes filled with tears. After several seconds, she reached out, took the folder, and set it down in front of her. She stared at it for several minutes, then looked at Peyton. Don't look at me, Peyton exclaimed. I'm not anything close to being an expert of love. What about artillery fire? Kimberly asked. Bet why? I was thinking the asteroids or meteors will be more are are they coming in and hitting like artillery fire? Oh, Peyton said as with relief strong in his voice. With the way you explain the changing of the trajectories, it would take into account elevations of the hills around us. I believe the odds of us getting hit are really low. Why? Benjamin asked. Because direct overhead fire impacts have less of an impact on us than one coming in at a low angle. Low angles are more like strafing runs of a warthog. Those shells will go along the ground and take out a lot of things. Overhead impacts have to be spot on. Like the bombing runs in Germany when they dumped tens of thousands of bombs to hit their target, Benjamin clarified. Right. So what about low-level meteors, Kimberly asked. Hang on, I need to put a word in here. The hills should block most of them, Peyton said. If I was worried, I would be doing something different. He pulled Susan closer to him, and she kissed his cheek. Benjamin made his way over to stand behind Janet with his hands on her shoulders. Whatever you decide, you have our blessings. Janet nodded. Kimberly looked at her mother questioningly. Darling, for the fourth time, you can marry Michael with my blessing. And if that's not clear enough, I want you to go have sex with him now, Monica exclaimed and folded her arms. We're not married yet. What would Dad say? You know what he would say. Get married or stop tempting fate, Kimberly sighed. And she opened the folder, picked up the pen. Then the cabinet began to shake. Damn it, she screamed and grabbed the edge of the table. I won't sign it. Just stop the shaking. A couple seconds later, the shaking stopped. Wow. That could be taken as a divine sign, Susan gasped out. Kimberly pushed the folder back to Janet. You need to print new forms. Then she stood up and walked over to Michael. I'm sorry, my super scout. I'm sleeping in my mom's trailer tonight. I'm not tempting fate tonight. No argument from me tonight, Michael said, a little unsure what just happened. I'll be back in your bed tomorrow, she said as she stood on her toes, kissed his cheek, and turned quickly towards the door, but stayed where she was. Okay, Michael said, sounding confused. Kimberly turned back. I'm not sure I can keep my jammies on tonight. Hang on here. I'm very confused about what I want, and I need to think about it by myself. Michael leaned over and kissed her forehead. I'm not sure what to do right now either. Kimberly slowly backed away, looking very unsure at him, then turned again to the door and hurried to it. I support and I love you, he said before she made it to the door. I know, she replied. I support and I love you, Michael said before she had made it out the door. I know, she said, or she replied, and closed the door. Michael then reached over to Kimberly's laptop and started saving her documents. Thank you for giving her another out. I'm a little confused, Peyton said. Didn't you want for her to sign the papers and marry you? Michael gave a half-hearted chuckle. Yes and no. I saw that she was tearing herself up inside and gave her the only out I could. That was to not hold to our promise and put the load on me by me signing the license and certificate. You gave her the other out by saying there really wasn't much of a danger for us dying tonight. But she started to sign anyways until the tremor hit. Yeah, that was just good timing that brought out her inner strength to do what she really wanted to do, but was tired of doing. Janet spoke up. You mean you only signed the papers to take the fall for breaking the promise you two made? Yeah. I was praying that someone would come out against it or argue that we weren't in danger of dying. What if she had signed the papers? Michael looked down. I don't know. He paused for several seconds. Maybe when we wrote our vows out or said them, one or both of us would have stopped. He paused again. I would have gone through with it, and she wouldn't have to be so stressed out. And she could relax. You can't take all the stress from me, came Kimberly's voice from the back door. That wouldn't be right for either of us. She started walking slowly towards Michael. Besides, there's a bigger stress I'm worried about when we do get married. One, two, three. Damn it. Delete. One, two, three. Okay. Hang on, I got to fix something here. Let me get the crap out of my eyes first. All right. And I'm going to have to clean these glasses. That's part of the problem why my eyes are watering so much. I love these things. They're cheap alcohol wipes for glasses. I keep a box in here, a box in the living room next to my other computer where I usually do my writing on the novels, and I keep one next to the staff sergeant's desk. All right, that lens looks quite a bit clearer now. Oh, I can almost see you guys through the computer. Are some spots on the screen here that I can see now. Let me wipe that. That's why the camera is shaking, because I'm wiping the monitor off. Sometimes when you cough or sneeze, you don't get your hand up fast enough and stuff goes on the monitors. There, it looks nice and cleaner. Yeah, nice and cleaner now. A couple more spots here. Uh, and get some off. Give the other monitor here a quick dusting. Yeah. All right. How are they going to fix that? There we go. Besides, she breathed deeply. There's a bigger stress I'm worried about when we do get married. That's getting pregnant. She kept her pace slow. What if the birth control pills don't work? What if I forget to take it one day or two? What if the condom breaks? What if your sperm is super sperm and I get pregnant anyways? Anal sex isn't the perfect way to prevent pregnancy. And relying on timing isn't either. She was halfway to him when she stopped walking. I don't want to be a liability because I'm pregnant when we have to be fighting or carrying a child in my arms as we run away. I don't want to be raising a baby the way things are right now, or the way they will most likely be before. Hang on, let me get in here. Before it will be for the next couple of years. And the before is not BEFORE, it's B and for. All right, there, that looks good. These are the stresses I'll be facing even if we make it to our set date or if we wait beyond it. Michael nodded and then spoke. I didn't think about the problems of you getting pregnant or that you would be worrying about it. I was stupid. No, you weren't stupid. Wait, hang on. No, you weren't stupid. Just not thinking like a girl, Kimberly retorted. So why did you come back inside? Susan asked. I need clothes for tomorrow morning runs and a change of underwear to shower tonight. But you have but you have underwear in the trailer and extra Marine Corps combat utility uniform and boots, Monica said with a look of suspicion. Okay, Kimberly sighed. I came in to apologize to Michael and ask him if I could sleep next to him. Why the change? Monica asked. If there's another earthquake and I freeze up and I need to be snapped out of it, I trust him to do it if he's beside me. If I'm in bed by myself, I might die. Of course you can sleep beside me. And no, I wasn't offended that you wanted to be by yourself for a while. I understand that you might need some alone time away from me. Michael then sniffed his armpit. Especially when I smell like this. Kimberly snickered, then said, even when you reek, I still like to have you near me. And that's my clue to escort Susan to her trailer, Peyton said. Okay. Coming up on 1 hour here. All right. Michael and Kimberly sat on, hang on. I am getting which one here? There we go. I am getting a sore throat. I'm not coughing, but it's getting sore, so I need a secrets here. Oh, that feels better. Michael and Kimberly sat on Michael's bed with their laptops studying the information from the thumb drives that Douglas Cooper had provided them with. They had been at it since 8:30 when Michael had gotten out of the shower. Ugh, Kimberly groaned as she rubbed her temples. We are going to have to spend more daytime hours on this. I'm getting to the stage I can't. I'm getting to the stage that to the. Oh, I'm getting to the quote. I can't think straight stage, unquote. And she closed her laptop. Yeah, I'm getting a headache too. And he closed his too and got off the bed and held his hand out to take her laptop. So what are your thoughts currently on using the Marine Corps IDs? Kimberly took a quick breath and dropped her hands in her lap. I'm very conflicted about it. How so? Michael asked as he set the laptops on the small desk. I so want to be a Marine to honor my dad, but at the same time, I don't want to cheat my way in because that would dishonor him. But if I have to use it to save someone's life, I will. But I won't feel right about it until I have all the manuals memorized, or at least know them better than any other officer. I know or believe that we are doing more PT than any Marine boot does. I just want to be sure. It's not too late to find out what SEAL training is, so we can copy that too. Kiss my. Kimberly started and stopped. Hang on. Due to the ST, Kimberly started and stopped. Sucked her lips into her mouth and bit down. Her lips into her mouth and bit down. Michael smiled broadly and climbed on the bed in front of him with his face inches from hers. Oh, I need to capitalize that. Kiss your what? He kept keeping her mouth closed tightly, and she shook her head no. Mm-mm, she said. Michael leaned closer and kissed her nose. Was that kiss my nose? Or come on. What is that? Delete. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. He kissed her ear. Or kiss my ear. Or neck. He proceeded to kiss different parts of her body parts until he said belly button. No, that tickles, she said, louder than she planned on. Oh. So was it going to be kiss my lips? Because you sucked them in for some reason. No. She said softly, it was kiss my ass. It was kiss my ass. Those squids are psychos. Quote for that whole thing. So why do you think they're psychos? Because of the crazy things they do in training, carrying logs, doing sit-ups with logs, running with logs, standing in freezing water with logs, baking in the sun with logs. There's heavy-duty training, and then there's stupid stuff. Well, maybe we should do some of it too, Michael said in a serious voice. What? She said wide-eyed. Michael looked back. Just some of it. We can get some of the other teenagers to do small logs. But we should be working harder so we know that we are worthy of the IDs. Oh, I guess you're right. Just don't expect me to do the splits like you do. Kimberly laughed, then said, if you can do the splits like me before our wedding date, I will give myself to you right then and there. Ooh, now I have something to work for. You'll hurt something important, so shut up and get the light, my love. In a high squeaky voice, Michael said in a high squeaky voice, okay. All right. Chapter 2. Okay. This is going quicker than I thought. Well, I think chapter 2 is longer, so I thought I'd planned out 3 hours of reading here. Okay, October 23rd, the second day after. Let me go ahead and flip this down because I started doing this on the last one, so I want to make sure I get this. The second day after it passes. So chapter 2, Friday. Is this for real? Blah, 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 blah. All right. Michael Moore thought about adding more weight to his pack, but then he remembered the other box that had the dragon scale vests in it and plate carriers they'd gotten from Douglas Cooper. He'd said that the plate carriers to be worn over everything but the tactical vest. He put the dragon scale on, then the Marine Corps combat utility uniform, MCCUU blouse, and then the plate carrier with the tactical vest on last, and loaded up the pockets with triple-aught buckshot. When he was done, the gear he added was about 35 pounds more than what he had in the pack already. When Kimberly saw that what Michael was doing, she put on her dragon scale vest, then the MCCUU blouse, plate carrier, and tactical vest. She didn't add any buckshot, but added several more magazines for her Glocks and for her Colt Car 15. Yeah, we're going to need to do more running to get used to this much weight, she said in a flat tone. I was thinking the same thing. How about adding an evening run? Larry and Peyton are going to be pissed at us, she snickered. Why? Because they're not going to let two wannabe Marines outdo them, she snickered some more. You got extra filters for your mask? Michael asked. Yes, Lieutenant Moore, Kimberly popped off. Lieutenant Jackson, do you realize that Douglas's friend screwed me? How so? She asked, trying to suppress a smile. Because you're 1 day older than me, he set your date of enlistment 1 day before mine. He couldn't have done it the same day. No, Michael said in a very mocking tone. He had to put me at yet another disadvantage. Whoa, what disadvantages? You're 1 day older, so you have more experience and you're more right. You're a woman and think differently, so you're more right again. Now you outrank me by a day, so you're even more right. I can't win. Kimberly smiled as she placed her pistol in the combat holster on her leg. Well, Lieutenant Moore, let's get going, and maybe I'll let you scrub my back when we get in the shower. Yeah, right. Michael smiled as he opened the door for her. The prisoner had showered twice a day since he arrived on the the USS Gerald Ford. He was glad the barber he was glad the barber was available to get rid of his long hair when he first landed on board. He couldn't just get rid of the itchy feeling on his skin yet. It was going away slowly. He wished that it would just go and he could get on with his life. He was finishing getting dressed when he spotted out the corner of his eye several high-ranking naval officers and a Marine lieutenant colonel heading straight towards him. He finished cinching his belt up, double-checked his hair, cut in the mirror, made sure his uniform was squared away. Then he turned and pretended to just notice them and snapped to attention, realizing that one was a fleet admiral. This was who spoke to him. Marine, you're out of uniform, and held out an open box with full colonel insignias. Colonels have been authorized to present these to you and let you know that you and Colonel Robert Knox are to reboard your transport with those that came with you, and you are flying to Ellison Air Force Base in Alaska for rest and refit before your next assignment. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me, Colonel Jackson. I understand you had a hard time of it. I understand you have a hard time of it once you're back in the 48. Hang on. You will have a hard time of it once you're back in the 48. Yeah, there we go. All right. Where numbers just climbed again. So someone just came in. The winds had been blowing from the north since noon the day before, and we're now bringing dark clouds with them. There was a slight mist in the air when they started their run, but as they were finishing up at the maintenance building, the rain started coming down in earnest. All the runners were breathing hard, but they all turned when they heard the thunk of Michael's tactical vest hitting the table in front of them. Peyton walked over and picked it up and let out a few choice words. Oh, that. You got to be kidding me. That weighs at least 30 pounds. Yeah, I was making it, so yeah, trying to hide certain words, but yeah. Then he heard Kimberly's tactical vest hit the table, followed by Michael's plate carrier, then Kimberly's plate carrier. And his mom, Larry walked over and picked up Kimberly's vest. Damn, what are you two eating for breakfast? Navy SEALs, Kimberly said with a straight face. Today we start exercising with logs. Oh, hell no, Peyton bemoaned loudly. LT, Michael's vest and plate carrier weigh 40 plus pounds, and his pack is still just as heavy as before. The others came over and picked up the gear and were examining how heavy it was. Then Michael and Kimberly stripped off their MCCUU blouses, exposing the dragon scale vest beneath it. Peyton let out a loud moan and sat down. LT, could you carry that much as fast as that of a pace at any time during your tour of duty? Nope. You? Maybe when I was fresh out of Ranger School. Maybe. Welcome to the 3rd Forcon Special Operations Group, Kimberly said with a smile. Larry turned to Kimberly. What do you have in mind? I want at least 2 5-person specialty teams to be trained by you two. Train them in placing claymores, C4, and primer cord. Michael and I will handle the PT. We have only 2 days to get ready for the bikers. If we are lucky and we can ambush them in some sort of a kill box and eliminate them, we will use everyone else to pull triggers to make sure that no one crawls out. I'm not sure if we should try to capture a couple alive or go no quarter given. Part of me just wants to wipe them out. I think we need more intelligence on the gang. But I don't want to risk the life of someone just to get it just because they're not trained. I also want to set up some response combat teams. What do you think? Larry nodded slightly in approval of Kimberly's thought process. It'd be nice to have some advanced intelligence while they were hours away or more. We can handle that, spoke up 16-year-old Brian Judd. If they're coming from Vegas, they will have to go past Colorado City. That's an hour away. We could set up on Cotton Point. It overlooks the Highway 389, and we could watch them for 5 or 6 miles. We have 6 radio packs and a couple dozen handheld units, so communications wouldn't be a problem, Peyton added. We should have a lookout at the edge of Fredonia where we can keep an eye on Ryan Road. That's the back way into here. However, that way takes an hour. Takes an hour instead of 35 minutes. An hour is good, Michael quipped. That's if they come through here, Brian continued. If they go straight to the North Rim, there are several ways off Ryan Road to do it. But Ryan Road to Forest Road 222 would be best if you have trucks and you want to sneak into the North Rim. But that's 2.5 hours. Any spots for an ambush, Larry asked. Hundreds, Brian smiled. I hope someone has a really detailed map, Kimberly said earnestly. Mr. Miller has a couple good forestry maps that he sells to tourists, Brian replied. Kimberly looked at Larry. Would you and Brian go talk to Bob about his maps and plan out several spots we could use? At Bob's office for the lodge, Bob, Larry, and Brian were going over one of the several copies of all the forest. We're going over one of the several map copies of all of the forest roads. Bob and Brian were talking about shortcuts they could take, which roads big semis would have to take. They marked out 4 most likely more. They marked out 4 of the most likely ambush sites, and Brian offered to guide Larry and Peyton to the sites. Bob also called the group at Marble Canyon for an update on the bridge. They reported the bridge was still up and no one has tried to cross it since the signs went up. They added some visual effects by taking orange marking paint and highlighting any crack they could find and putting barricades around the heaviest marked areas. Some groups pulled up as soon as they saw the markings on the highway, turned around without trying to cross. Brian suggests they use his pickup to go check out the sites because his wouldn't draw undue attention. Larry agreed. and said they would go right after lunch. Kimberly and Michael were worried that no one would show up for Kimberly's class because the rain had turned into a very heavy downpour. But that only lasted about 30 minutes, then it turned into sporadic drizzles. Just about everyone that had signed up for it was there. When it was time to start, Kimberly and Michael explained the situation about the biker gang, which everybody had already heard about. But then Kimberly told them what the captured biker had said on the video recording. That information Larry and Peyton and Michael had kept confidential, Several people had run out to get others to come hear what she was planning. By the time Larry and Brian had returned from the inspection of the ambush sites, sorry, there are two words here that are redundant. There we go. There were over 60 people in the maintenance building. Michael saw them return and slip in one of the two storage rooms that had a stair to the storage loft above them. By the time that I did it, so I'm just rereading this because something just sounds just a bit off to me. By the time that Larry and Brian had returned from the inspection of the ambush sites, there were over 60 people in the maintenance building, period. Michael saw them return, and he slipped in one of the two storage rooms, the one that had the stairs, plural, that was part of the problem, stairs to the storage loft above them to change into his Arrow outfit. I'm going to change this here. Into his Green Archer outfit. He was going to talk to them about camouflage and shock and awe. Kimberly explained that she wanted 2 or 3 teams of 5 to team up with Lieutenant Robinson and Sergeant Grimm to learn how to handle and set up explosives such as claymores, C4 and Primacord. 16 volunteered. She told them that she wanted to set up several rapid response teams to be able to head off intruders and, if necessary, eliminate them. She preferred hunters that could track the intruders down, and that Michael wanted some bow hunters too. A teenager that she'd seen around but hadn't been introduced to raised her hand and asked if the intruders were the bikers that rape people. For the most part, yes, but there'll be others trying to get to us to get our supplies. But it's the bikers I'm concerned about for now. Wickedly as others quickly raised their hands. In total, Kimberly got 27 volunteers for the response teams, including 8 teenage girls. 6 volunteered for Michael's special archer team. She was just starting to explain what their duties would be when a girl that Kimberly guessed was 12 or 13 came in wearing a huge rifle case as a backpack. "I'm here for sniper duty," she announced, which brought a few chuckles. She continued onto one of the tables behind Kimberly, shucked off her case, and laid it on the table, popped the hatches, and removed an impressive-looking weapon. This is an AEA Precision Zeus 72 caliber PPC rifle. She flipped down the bipods and locked them in place and set it on the table beside the case. I've never heard of that, Peyton said as he stepped over to the table. AEA is the company, Precision Zeus is the model, 72 caliber is obvious, PPC is pre-charged pneumatic. An air rifle? Peyton asked inquisitively. An air rifle that'll make your head explode, she said. It has a special suppressor, so when you keep the regulator charged between 4,100 to 4,300 psi with a 1,082 grain slug, it travels just under the speed of sound, so there's no sonic crack. And the suppressor, she picked up an 18-inch long cylinder that was about 3 inches in diameter. Totally muffles the rifle so you can't hear it at 15 feet. Peyton let out a slow whistle and Larry walked over to her. Hi, I'm Lieutenant Robinson. He held out his hand. I'm Abigail Moore Van Horn, she said and took Larry's hand. Are you in charge of snipers? Not exactly. That would be Staff Sergeant Grimm. Hang on a minute. Are we still at this point, Lieutenant? Yes, we're still at this point. Okay. Because in doing the editing for the last several days of running against the wind, like I said, two are overlapping. And so there's been stuff going on that is talked about, yes, in the last couple of days that hasn't happened yet here. All right. So I just want to make sure I hadn't messed up timelines. No, it'll be Staff Sergeant Grimm, Larry said as he gestured to Peyton. Peyton looked back to Peyton. Cool name. Then she said with an excited smile. Staff Sergeant Kimberly called out over her shoulder, why don't you take Michael and Abigail out back to see what she can do with her air rifle after his presentation. Pre-charged pneumatic, Abigail snapped back. It's so much more than an air rifle. Before Kimberly could fire her retort of, excuse me, a female voice came from the back room. I apologize for my niece's attitude. Her parents coddled her too much and she resents it. Ah, Aunt Sandy, Abigail bemoaned. Several chuckles came from those that Kimberly was addressing. As she walked quickly to the front, she continued to speak. My name is Sandra Smith. My sister's family, Abigail's family, are staying with us in Fredonia. I'm so sorry for the intrusion, and the way she barged in. That's okay. I like spirit in proper doses, Kimberly replied, giving Abigail the eye. So why did she think that we would need sniper training? Oh, we'll be needing a sniper, Larry asked. And it is now 15 minutes after the hour, and the power station is charging back up because we're now on the cheap electricity charge time. All right. Well, my other sister's husband is the city marshal. He told us that there were some problems with a biker gang up here, and some army guys had him put up a sign about. Then my son heard from his girlfriend that her cousin up here told her that everyone here is getting trained by Army Rangers, Marine Recon, and some superhero ninja or something or something or other. Not just some ninja. Juby Chan, the ninja girl, Abigail said with exasperation, and Archer, the super scout. Yeah, well, whatever. I don't hold much stock in the stories kids tell these days. I mean, come on. Superheroes like Batman and Superman, she sighed. I want you to know that I don't expect you to indulge your hero fantasies. Kimberly quickly turned away and put a hand over her face to stifle a laugh. Larry struggled to keep a straight face. Excuse me, Mrs. Smith. Dan Robinson spoke up as he quickly walked to Larry and Peyton. But I would like to introduce you to two real life superheroes. This is Lieutenant Larry Robinson and Staff Sergeant Peyton Grimm. They have medals and awards for saving lots of lives. Monica walked forward as Sandra Smith replied, I acknowledge the great service they've done, but that's not what I call superheroes. What about two teenagers without guns facing down robbers with automatic weapons and stopping them without anyone being killed several times? Maybe who did that? Monica gestured to Kimberly. My daughter and her boyfriend. Sandra looked at Kimberly and said, but she's military. No, her father was a Marine. She just has some Marine Corps combat utility uniforms for training in. Just then, the overhead projector that Greg Harper had installed came on. The footage of the armed robbery came up. For the local residents, this was the first time that they'd seen it. There were a few gasps and amazement when the five robbers went down almost at the same time. When it was over, Monica turned to Sandra. Do they act like superheroes in the movies and TV? I think so. Suddenly, over the speaker system came Michael's voice. Lieutenant Robinson, would you have my class take their seats on the storage room side of the mat, and the rest stand behind them? Kimberly slipped from everybody's view while Larry was getting everybody in place. Then Michael spoke using a voice modulator, deepening his voice and adding a bit of reverb. Welcome, foolish mortals. Evil laugh. This brought some gas and a couple of squeaks of surprise. Then in his normal voice, he continued, when we're facing an adversary such as we are, do not expect them to play fair and be all goody two-shoes. The whole dress and persona of these bikers is to instill fear into you, to make you freeze, hesitate, second guess your ability to withstand them. Sounds, looks, actions are psychological weapons that they will use on you. In the modulated voice, we will use more on them. 5 arrows hit the bullseye. Sorry. 5 arrows hit the bullseye in each of the 5 targets at the same time. Hang on, I got to change it. Stop. That's now. FL flew in and hit one, two, three, four, and one hit the bullseye. Time. A second later, Michael swung over their heads and landed in front of them on the mat. A few of them yelped in surprise. He was wearing his Green Archer outfit. Then he fired. Hang on, I want to do something here. Thing here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. This one is Green Archer, ARCH. So I don't have to keep remembering when I see each one of them. Up. Green Archer. Just make sure I got them all right. GRE. Green AR. $15. All right, let's see what we got here. Archer. Okay. That. 19. Okay. Okay. Okay, that one, and up one more. Yeah. Okay. Get back where I was here. Okay, here we go. All right, 5 arrows hit the bullseyes. Flew in, and one hit the bullseye of each of the 5 targets at the same time. A second later, Michael swung over their heads and landed in front of them on the mat. A few yelped in surprise. He was wearing his Green Archer outfit. Then he fired 2 more arrows into each of the bullseyes in rapid succession as he walked parallel to the targets. Pretending to knock another arrow, Michael spun, aiming at his students, who all recoiled and gasped. He was wearing the green skull mask that Peyton had given him, and he knew one of the reasons why. It was, after all, it was freaky. Kimberly's voice came over the speakers. That's psychological warfare. You all recoiled, even though you know Michael is a friend. The costume changed your perspective of him and gave you uncertainty. And you recoiled when he turned towards you wearing that mask. But he aimed an arrow at us, someone exclaimed. Did he? Kimberly asked. When everyone took a second look, they saw that he had neither arrow nor had pulled the bow back. You saw what you expected to see. I psyched you out. That was somewhat of what we have to do to the bad guy to keep the bad guys off balance and reacting, not acting, Michael explained. And just then, Kimberly, in her ninja outfit and red skull mask, having jumped off the top of the storage room, somersaulted and landed beside Michael and hissed at the class. Most of them scrambled back a bit, and several of them actually screamed. Remember that when confronting the unexpected, most people panic or freeze, even if it's for a second or four, Michael clarified. My archer team, let's head into classroom 1. Okay, explosive teams, go with Lieutenant Robinson and Staff Sergeant Grimm to classroom 2. My response team set up some tables over by the roll-up doors. Those that are here for my martial arts class and are not on any of the special teams, line up on the mats. I'll get you started. All right. Kimberly had her class line up on the mat and picked 2 of her best students to start running through basic exercises to help build muscle memory for the class. Then she met with the response teams and went over with them what they were going to be doing. At every major point, she would double check with them. Excuse me, yawning. At every major point, she would double check with them to see if they still wanted to be on the teams. No one had backed out by the end of the meeting. Michael asked Abigail and Sandra to wait by where Abigail had set her rifle up. Then he talked to his archer team and was about what his plans were for them. He asked them what they wore for hunting and was happy that a couple of them had ghillie suits. He handed out some DVDs he had copied some videos onto showing how to make ghillie suits and how to camouflage their bows without impacting their function. He sent them out to make their suits and to ask hang on here. Ask I gotta change this around. Ask those that had theirs to go get them and help others make theirs. Larry started out their session with a few horror stories of those who didn't follow safety procedures and thought they knew it all. They kept repeating that explosives are not explosive 4th of July firecracker. After giving them a course on claymores, one had dropped out. All right. I need to go grab something. Actually, I need to go grab a couple things. I need to go get another one of my energy drinks to try to stay awake here, and grab a couple slices of cheese. So I'll be right back here in a minute. All right. Yeah. Oh man, I hate that those drinks are so highly carbonated. All right, let's get on with this here. Michael followed his group out of the classroom, out of hang on, out of classroom one, and saw Abigail and Sandra talking to his parents. He immediately noticed that his parents were visibly shaken, and Sandra was wide-eyed as well. He gestured to his dad and pointed to the now empty classroom questioningly. Benjamin's face lit up, and he shook his head. Yes. Benjamin spoke and pointed to Michael. Let's go to use Michael's classroom. Janet gave Michael a very concerned look that bordered on panic. Michael spoke first. Mrs. Smith, sorry to make you wait. I see you met my parents. Adopted, Abigail muttered. Yes, adopted. They adopted me this year. Why did they wait to adopt you until now? Why did they wait until now to adopt you? Abigail asked questioningly. Because I asked them to wait for reasons I don't care to discuss with you, Michael replied. But you're my brother, Abigail protested. What? Michael said with a disbelieving tone. Janet handed Michael a packet of papers. You better sit down. Michael took the packet and sat on the edge of the table. The cover sheet identified it as adoption papers. Michael scanned through each page, not just reading, but examining the condition of the page. He continued till he got to Abigail's birth certificate when he read his parents' birth names and their correct birth dates, social security numbers, and his old address. Michael looked up at Sandra. What do you know about this? I can't say I really know much. I know my sister had a boy, and it was a bad delivery, and and as a result, she couldn't have any more. Hang on, I'm going to get a sip of this. Yeah, man, that drink is. I should have opened this up a couple hours ago and left it in the fridge so it could get flat. I can't say that much. My sister, she couldn't have any more. A couple of years later, they adopted Abigail. She was about 4 months old. I knew she had a brother, but not what happened to him. I only saw the papers once at the adoption party. I know someone spilled some punch on the birth certificate, and my sister was really pissed. Michael held up the birth certificate. There's no punch stain on this. The original with the punch stain is at the back, Abigail said quickly. Michael flipped to the back and found the stained birth certificate. It was identical other than the stain. Michael looked at Abigail, then got up, went to the door, opened it, and hollered, "Babe, emergency family meeting." Kimberly vaulted over one of the over one of the tables and ran to Michael. What's up? Michael motioned with his head for her to follow him into the room. He walked back to where he was sitting on the table and hopped back up on it. Kimberly hopped next to him and he handed her the adoption packet. Oh, why is she here? Juby Chan is his fiancée, Abigail said. Oh, if these are correct as they appear to be, Abigail's my baby sister, Michael said. If they're fakes, I'll be tossing someone into the wood chipper and feeding the hogs with what comes out, Kimberly said flatly. If they are fake, I'll jump in as long as I can drag whoever made them. As long as I can drag in whoever made them. Kimberly stated as she stood up and crossed her arms. Kimberly smiled. I like her. She reminds me of me before my dad tanned my hide with his belt. How many times did he do that? Abigail asked, suddenly unsure of herself. Once, and he cried the entire time. I think that I have cried more thinking about that than I have since he died. He died, Abigail choked out. Yeah, 2 years ago. Abigail rushed Kimberly and hugged her. I'm sorry I was being a brat out there. Janet spoke. When you were first assigned to us, you kept asking for Baba Abba. I think you were trying to say baby Abba or Abigail. Michael lowered his head. I can't remember that. You were only 4 and you stopped speaking and you stopped asking by the time you were 5. Things changed so much for you back then. You lost your entire family, were staying with strangers, Benjamin said, trying to comfort Michael. Michael nodded inside. So where are the Van Horns now? Kimberly asked. At my house in Fredonia, Sandra said. Could we go meet them? Kimberly inquired. Yeah, I would like to ask them if they knew we were separated. If they knew why we were separated, Michael said. Sure, I can see why you'd want to know that, Sandra replied, but I don't know if they know anything about the how or why. Let us change. And delete. 1, 2, 3. Just let us change. Wait. Can you wear your outfits? Can you wear your outfits? Abigail begged, please. 40 minutes later, Kimberly and Michael were pulling up to the Smith's driveway behind Sandra. She pulled into the driveway and they stopped just outside of it. Abigail jumped out and waved for them to hurry into the garage. They grabbed their bows and a large gym bag, each with their MCCUs and other gear, and hurried into the garage. Aunt Sandy, can you bring them in a little bit after I get everybody into the living room? Okay, but how long after? You'll know. I want to explain some things first. Michael and Kimberly looked at each other like, what did we get ourselves into? What did we get ourselves into? Abigail went into the house through the garage to the hallway and shouted, Mom, Dad, I need everybody in the living room. A few minutes later, Sandra opened the door and stuck her head in. Okay, she has everybody in the living room. They hurried as quickly as they could to get into the house and down the hallway. When they entered the living room, they were behind everybody and they were all facing Abigail. And I'm sorry I was bugging everybody about Juby Chen, the ninja girl, and Archer, the super scout. She took a deep breath. But when Aunt Sandy took me to Jacob Blake. She quickly held her head to stop the questions to see Uncle Brandon and Roger's girlfriend, to see who Uncle Brandon and Roger's girlfriend were talking about. I found them. I gotta fix this right. I found him. Found who? Demanded a well-dressed man that had the air of money about him. Well, Dad, I found Kimberly Jackson, a.k.a. Juby Chan the Ninja Girl, and Michael Moore, a.k.a. Archer the Super Scout. Right. A teenage boy said sarcastically. Well, Roger, would you like to meet him? Abigail responded in a snooty tone back at him. Kimberly walked right up behind the couches that most of them were seated on. I'm not going up there with the biker gang around, Roger proclaimed. They're not around anymore. I killed them all, Kimberly said flat, making everyone turned around. Abigail's mom let out a yelp, and a couple of preteen boys broke out in ear-to-ear grin, ear-to-ear smiles. A little girl crawled into a lady's wrap. Roger went wide-eyed and pale, and the two men gaped at her. Michael walked forward with his hood tilted down, hiding the green skull-face mask. Whoa, it's the Green Arrow, the older of the preteen boys said. He's so cool, the other said. Boys, one of the fathers spoke, he's not the Green Arrow. That's just a fictional character from the comic books. Dad, Abigail spoke, check this out. She had Michael download the robbery video to her tablet, and she was linking it to the TV on the wall. Everyone turned when it began to play. Okay, I have the truck recorded. Are you sure there's something wrong? Kimberly's voice came from the speakers. Yes, that's not a parking space. They're too close to the gold exchange store. Something's going on. Michael's voice. On the screen, the doors to the pickup opened. To the pickup truck opened, and 5 masked men got out and headed to the exchange's door. Let's go, Michael shouted. The video bounced up and down as Kimberly got out of the front passenger seat of the Jeep and moved to the back. It showed her opening the bow case. They haven't gone in yet, Michael's voice. Here, use these arrows. The video bounced some more as she closed the back door and started running across the parking lot towards the 5 men. They're going in, Michael's voice. I'm putting the phone away. Then the image shook very, very violently and went dark as the phone went into Kimberly's pocket. Then the video showed the CCTV images of the front door and part of the parking lot. It showed the robbers pickup backing into the hashed out area for handicap parking. Then after several seconds, it showed the 5 robbers getting out and making their way towards the exchange's front door. They paused there for about 5 seconds, then yanked the doors open and hurried in. Then a couple seconds later, Michael and Kimberly approached the door, bows and arrows in hand. They paused for a second, then Michael opened the door and Kimberly went in first. The image flashed and changed to the interior of an interior camera that was mounted high on the wall in the corner opposite the door. It showed the 5 men in masks come through the door. There was no sound, but from the way they were waving their hands and guns around, their intent was easy to follow. 2 of the robbers captured the security guards and put zip ties on them. Kimberly and Michael entered immediately shot. Kimberly shot what appeared to be the leader. Michael shot the 2 shot 2 arrows at once at the 2 that were subduing the security guard at the same time. And Kimberly shot the masked man to her right, and Michael shot the one to her left, and Michael shot the one to her right. All shots were to the back of the head with large blunt tip arrows, the impact knocking the men out instantly. Michael moved to the security guard, freed him. The guard got up after a couple seconds and started putting zip cuffs on the masked men. Then the video stopped. Wow, I'm glad, the older boy said. I think you owe the Green Arrow an apology. Abigail's mom, Julia Van Horn, spoke. You killed those robbers, just killed them. Killed them? No. Gave them headaches? Yes. Michael answered, his head still tilted forward, keeping his face shadowed, and it's Archer, not Green Arrow. They were part of a gang that was robbing jewelry stores, pawn shops, and gold exchanges for the past month. That was the second group we stopped, Kimberly added. So they were, hang on. Just knocked out, Michael clarified. And turn on their fellow gang members, Kimberly added with a slight hint of humor in her voice. After the police let me have a private chat with them. Jonathan Smith, the other father, held his hand out to Michael. Michael took it and started to shake when Jonathan tightened his grip. Michael responded quickly gripping his hand as hard as he could. Jonathan dropped to his knees, his other hand coming to break Michael's grip, but stopped in shock when he saw the green skull face under the hood. Michael released his grip and helped Jonathan back up to his feet. As he explained, I'm sorry, I draw my bow over 1,000 times a day, plus other exercises. It was a reflex action to your gripping hard. Whoa, Dad, he can squeeze harder than you? Roger asked in surprise. Yeah, Jonathan answered his son. Then to Michael, that's a heck of a grip you have there. I guess you are the real deal, although I hadn't heard of any superheroes until now. We don't like to be too public about what we do. Most of the time, the police like to leave us out of the reports for their own reasons, which works for us. Roger jumped in. There's a story going around the ham radio about a girl up in Idaho who killed a biker gang that was going to rape her. They say she killed over 100 of the Heaven's Devils. Michael and Kimberly glanced at each other as Edward Van Horn asked in a skeptical voice, did they say how she did that? They said she's the county quick draw champion and that she holds the state speed record. There are others out there being superheroes too. Well, we are only wearing our outfits here because we promised Abigail that we would. If you don't mind, we'd like to change back into our other clothes, Michael said. I was wondering why you even came here, Julia Van Horn asked. Michael and Kimberly both turned and looked at Abigail, who quickly lowered her eyes and stared at the floor as she dug a toe into the carpet. Sandra broke the silence. It seems Abigail has been looking into any information about her birth family. She found out that she has a brother somewhere, and when she learned that the archer was named Michael Moore, she did more digging. That's all I was able to get out of her on the ride back here. The rest of you need to get from her and Michael. Kimberly walked back through the hallway and began to the beginning of the hallway where she and Michael left their gym bag. She opened hers and took out the adoption papers. Abigail, Edward asked. I Michael spoke up. Abigail showed me her adoption papers with her birth certificate. What? Exclaimed Julia. Those are our private papers, young lady, Edward chided, about me, where I came from and who I am. So actually, they are my private papers. Hang on. And if the information is correct about me as well, what Julia and Edward said together, Abigail's birth parent information is the same as Michael's, Kimberly said. What are you talking about? Holding up the copy of Abigail's birth certificate. Right here, this lists Abigail's birth parents as Michael's birth parents. Give me that, Edward exploded as he reached out to grab the documents from Kimberly. Kimberly easily stepped away from him. Dad, if you touch her, she will legally beat the daylights out of you, Abigail shouted. It seems there is something off with these papers, Kimberly said. And the way you reacted in panic, you don't want me to read them. Well, too late. I did a deep read of them through twice all on the way here. And I have to say, it smells of a fake adoption. What Abigail and Michael said at the same time? Kimberly eyed both Edward and Julia for their reactions. They didn't react in shock or surprise. Michael, go change, she said flatly. I need to talk to them without you here. Kimberly touched the side of her head. Michael nodded slightly and said, yes, dear. He didn't turn to leave. He stopped, picked up his gym bag. She said, talk, if you try to hurt her, she will kill everyone, he said as he walked down the hallway. Once Michael was in the bathroom, she stared hard at Edward. I love Michael more than my own life. She reached in the gym bag and pulled out one of the Glock 29 FFs with a threaded barrel. She pulled out the suppressor for it and slowly screwed it on while she talked. There is something very off about the adoption paperwork for Abigail. I've studied Michael's foster parents' placement paperwork and his adoption paperwork. There are things that don't add up with Abigail's paperwork, like the lack of official seal and notary stamp. She tightened the suppressor. Please don't kill us, Julia pleaded. Well, that depends. What are you not telling me about the paperwork? Is Abigail who you claim she is? Is she Michael's sister? The birth certificate is correct, and if that's the same as on Michael's birth certificate, then yes, she's Michael's sister, Edward replied. And the paperwork isn't legal. We never adopted her because we were denied. Or what? Abigail exclaimed. And Kimberly asked with the annoyance heavy in her voice. We paid off someone who noted in the county system that Abigail had died a couple months later. He deleted that entry and entered that we had been approved, and he made out the paperwork. But they were never filed because he died in a car wreck before he could get that done. What? Screamed Abigail. You mean you're not my adopted parents? Only by official paperwork. We love you so much. We consider you our daughter, Julia said in earnest. Abigail, we wanted you so bad that we were willing to go to jail to have you in our family, Edward added. But you broke the law. You always said the law is very important. But you broke it, Abigail started, choking up with emotion. Mom, Dad, you broke the law to get her. Didn't you love me? Wasn't I good enough? The other teenage voice spoke for the first time, his voice trembling. Kimberly guessed that boy was Maynard Van Horn. Jonathan spoke to his children. Roger, take the others to the playroom and put a video in. He turned to Kimberly. If that's okay with you, sure. Just leave their cell phones here. Roger, who was looking rather nervous during the episode of trying to sink in deep into the couch as he could, perked up at the instructions. Okay, Dad. He dropped his phone on the table, grabbed his brother's cell phone, tossed it on the table, and quickly ushered his siblings out of the room. When the kids were out of the room, Maynard repeated the question and added, "Do you blame me for what happened in the hospital? Do you believe I'm the reason you can't have any more kids?" Edward looked down as Julia spoke. "No, Maynard, I don't blame you at all. It was the way my doctor reacted to some of the medications they gave me to help with the process, and then what they did in response to it. It was the doctor's fault, not yours." Maynard caught the look in his dad's eye before he lowered his head. "But you do, Dad, don't you?" Edward Van Horn stayed at the floor in silence. "Your silence is deafening, Dad," Maynard shouted. "Edward," Elizabeth spoke questioningly. "Edward, how could you blame Maynard for what would happen?" He stammered. "At the time, I blamed everyone. But you still blame me," Edward said accusingly. "No, I'm just ashamed that I did at first," Edward sighed. "It took me a couple of years to get over it and realize it wasn't your fault or your mother's fault. It was the doctor's fault. And when we tried to get a surrogate to carry a baby from your mother's eggs, we found out that the doctor had removed her ovaries when he wasn't supposed to. We wanted to give you some brothers and sisters. When we found out that we couldn't, we sued the doctor in the hospital. Then we tried to get because he had friends that blocked us. That's when we went with a friend we had and worked around the system to get a sister for you. So I was a second choice, a backup plan," Abigail cried. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this. I'm going to my room to think," she shouted, and she stormed towards the stairs. She stopped when Michael came down the hallway. "Did you hear what they said?" "Yes, I did," Michael answered her with a bit of hesitation. "Well, did you know about any of this?" Michael held up a finger. "Before we left to come here, my mom told me that they were expecting a boy and girl to be dropped off to them when they got me. The welfare worker told her that the girl had died in the hospital. That was all my mom knew until you arrived today." "So I was supposed to go with you to be with them?" she asked, a little in shock. "That's what it seems." Abigail stood there for several seconds, plural, before she spoke again. "Don't leave until I come back down. I want to talk to you. I'll come back down to talk to you, please." "All right, we'll wait," Michael agreed. Abigail, hang on. Missed that one. Towards the stairs. Okay. Abigail went to the stairs to go to the room that she was sharing with 8-year-old Sally Smith. And Michael continued into the living room over to Edward and Julia. He stared at them hard. "Did it work?" Kimberly asked. "I heard every word." "Good. I'm gonna go change." Kimberly said as she picked up her gym bag and walked out of the room and down the hallway. Everyone was staring at Michael now dressed in one of the Marine Corps Combat Unity utility forms or MCCUs with the first lieutenant's insignia on the collar that Douglas Cooper had gotten for him and Kimberly. Michael finally moved. He shook his head at the Van Horns. Edward started to speak and step forward, but Michael quickly raised a hand, signaling for him to stop. One thing that makes me very mad is to know that you lied and kept me from knowing my sister for almost all of our lives. He took a deep breath and let it out slowly through his nose. Why don't you just sit down and keep quiet while we wait for Abigail to sort through her thoughts and emotions? He nodded to one of the couches. The Van Horn sat nervously as Michael stared at them. The silence was broken by a soft cough to his right. Michael turned his head and saw Sandra with her hand raised about shoulder height. He smiled and nodded. Hang on, 1, 2, 3. I want you to know that we, pointing to Jonathan, really didn't know what they did with the phony adoption. I know, Michael replied. But since the president has declared martial law and Congress suspended the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878, we were supposed to help enforce the law. But seeing how this crime took place years ago, we may have some leeway. If Abigail wants to go with me and he tilted his head towards the Van Horns, try to stop her, that's a new crime, and we have to enforce the law. He turned back to the Van Horns. That said, if she wants to stay, then there's no crime. If she wants to visit me at any time and you stop her, well, that will be considered by me and Lieutenant Jackson as kidnapping. And under presidential orders for martial law, that is a shoot-on-sight offense. But I think an open relation for Abigail is the best for all concerned, Kimberly said as she re-entered the room. Give her the freedom to visit Michael and his parents, and we'll encourage her not to cut ties with you. Everyone wins. So you two are military. It's not Edward supposed to be asking that. It's supposed to be Sandra. Sandra asked. Let me hit save for all the corrections I've done so far. Kimberly answered quickly, yes, then glanced at Sandra. We did 4 years as junior ROTC, took our officer commission a while back, but my mom doesn't know that because my dad died saving his command, and she was against me enlisting. He was a major in the Marines, Michael added. Sandra nodded, understanding. Oh, okay, I can understand that. Then continued. I think you're right on letting Abigail do what she wants and supporting her. I just hope we haven't driven her away, Julia said quietly. How you react to what she says or does when she comes down will have a great influence on what she decides to do, Michael said. Uncle Jimmy's here, Abigail yelled from upstairs, and they could hear her running towards the stairs. Uncle Jimmy asked Michael as Kimberly slowly moved back towards the hallway. Our brother-in-law, the city marshal, Sandra answered. Michael saw the man walking up the walkway to the front door. He didn't look happy. Then Abigail ran downstairs past everyone to the door. She threw the door open, ran outside and hugged her uncle. Then Abigail said loud enough for it to be heard inside, My adopted parents really didn't adopt me. They faked it. I was kidnapped as a baby. They admitted it. Edward and Julia gasped at Abigail's announcement. Abigail and Jimmy came inside and stopped near Michael, who was staring at Edward and Julia. This is my real brother. Jimmy straightened up and his eyes widened and started, and a startled gasp escaped his lips. Lieutenant Michael Moore, he said, and held out his hand. Jimmy sucked in a breath. I was explaining to the Van Horn, since the crime occurred before the martial law order, it gives us some latitude to move their crime way down the list of concerns we have to deal with. However, Kimberly spoke as she stepped back out of the hallway into the living room. If Abigail wants to stay with them, then it's all right by us. If she wants to visit her brother and they stop her, then that becomes a new crime, kidnapping, as they're not truly or legally her guardians. Also, if she decides she doesn't want to stay with them and doesn't want to be with them anymore, and they try to stop her from leaving, that also becomes kidnapping, and we will bring the full weight of the federal government in on them. But like I explained, when they agreed to it, this is going to be Abigail's choice. Hers and hers alone, Michael said flatly. Really? Abigail said in punishment. I can go up there anytime I want? Sort of. You need to check with my adopted parents to see if their schedule is clear to have you over. And you'll be expected to join the rest of the young adults in daily training routine, Michael said. What's that? 0530. 2 or 5 mile run, depending on what you can do. Followed by PT, the martial arts taught by Lieutenant Jackson. Followed by handgun training taught by Lieutenant Robinson, and rifle taught by Staff Sergeant Grimm. Cool. What do you teach? Archery. Michael chuckled slightly and continued. Then there's afternoon chores that Mom will give you to help out with the animals. What animals? Chickens, rabbits, pigs, cows, horses. Feeding them and cleaning their stalls and pens. Abigail's face scrunched up. You mean poop? Poop, feeding, bedding, milking, grooming, riding lessons afterwards. Picking up their poop. Hang on. That's a crappy job, Abigail said with a deadpan face, then a second later busted out laughing. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. She started slapping her knee, laughing harder. Crappy job. That's your job when you visit. If you want to visit me, on her face. No, Mom, Dad, Kimberly's mom, and I all do the chores. So what do you want to do? Kimberly asked. The choice is yours, but you need to think about it before you make your decision. Abigail looked down at the floor for a while, then looked at Michael, then at Edward and Julia, then over at Sandra and Johnson, then to Uncle Jimmy, and finally Kimberly. She opened her mouth to speak when the house gave a shudder. For several seconds. Damn it, Kimberly shouted. I hate earthquakes. Why? Because I can't beat them into submission. At least they're getting less intense, Michael quipped. Lieutenant Moore, Marshal James Pratt spoke. Could you and Lieutenants Jackson and Robinson come to speak at a special city council meeting this coming week? We should be able to do that. What day and time, Michael asked. Monday the 26th, 12 o'clock in the high school gym. We'll be there. Anything in particular you want us to talk about? What and how you've been dealing with the bikers and why? The legal situation, the government's plans that you are allowed to talk about, what we need, hang on, come on, what we need to be doing, what we can expect to happen here, and how long until the Marble Canyon Bridge is repaired, and maybe a Q&A session if that's allowed. Okay, have you heard the presidential authorization to shooting on sight of rapists, murderers, looters, and such? We've heard that on the ham radio, but haven't gotten any official word on it. We'll bring a video of it to the meeting, Michael said, but consider this your official notification. Oh. Okay, 45 minutes. That'll give me break time between now and the next live stream with Shadow Scout Swede, the Sofa Survivalist, UK Urban Prepper, and World Survivalist. Let me try to choke some of this stuff down. Oh, man. I hate carbonated drink. They were seated around the table in the Clark's cabin, planning out what they could do about Heaven's Devils when a screaming sound of something cutting through the air penetrated the cabin from the outside. Sounds like it's going to be worse tonight, Benjamin said as he pushed his chair back from the table and got up and went to the window to look out. Peyton also got up from the table and joined Benjamin. There are a lot more. Are we safe here? Abigail asked. Safer than in Fredonia, Janet quipped. Oh, Abigail, I'm sorry. I'm sure your family is just fine. Your Uncle Jimmy has a ham radio. I can try to raise him if you want, Michael said. No, that won't change anything. If something bad happens, it happens. I want to be happy right now, Abigail said and looked around. You're right, Kimberly said as she jumped up off the couch. Let's go outside and enjoy the show. Kimberly grabbed Abigail's and Michael's hand and pulled them towards the door. Abigail squealed with delight as she was dragged outside. The adults followed. For the next 30 minutes. They were kids again. This is the best, Abigail said as she ran from Kimberly, who was playing the Tickle Monster. I think this is the best outcome for the two of them, Janet said softly to Benjamin. How's that? No sibling fights, no bossy older brother, no pesky little sister, just bonding and love. It doesn't hurt that her brother's fiance is her hero too, Benjamin noted. No, it doesn't, Janet. Hang on. Janet sighed. We have no idea how our decisions will affect our future. How's that? We can't know how our children would have turned out. Would they have been as good as Michael or rotten brats? Would we have stayed together? What good or bad things would have come into our lives? But what we have now, I wouldn't go back and change a thing. Benjamin wrapped his arm around Janet's waist. I think you're right. Okay. Let me check something here. So we're at page 33. And chapter 3 is how long? From 33 to 74 is 41 pages, which is longer than this. 74 to, that's only 21. All right, so I was thinking, don't want to read anymore. So we've been at it for 2.25 hours. I'm going to read a couple more pages. That way, because I know one of the chapters coming up here, I think it's 6. Hang on, let me check what I got over here on the other thing, because I got some stuff that'll tell me what it is. All right. Yeah, chapter 6 is a long one coming up. I got it set up to take, I got the thumbnails for 3 days worth of reading of chapter 6. So I'm going to go ahead and give it at least another 20 minutes or so we can get some of this out of the way. And someone else just showed up here. So go ahead and make this as a part of the new format here. I picked up from the other one, and that's supposed to be a capital. There we go. Chapter 3, Saturday, Fires in the Sky, October 24th, 2037, the third day after it passes. Michael and Kimberly had gone out early to check on things around the cabin property before it was time for their run. The meteor shower had gotten intense, and they heard or saw several impacts in the distance before they went to bed. Later, it had rained hard during the night. They could see smoke. They could see smoke in the distance all around from various fires from the meteor impacts, but they seemed to be dying out thanks to the rainstorms that could be seen in those areas. It's a good thing it rained last night, Kimberly said, as she looked around at the smoke plumes. I can imagine how many fires would have spread out of control without the rain. We need to talk to Mom and Dad about the surrounding property. Who owns them? And can we make fire breaks on them? Michael said, a bit worried. When do you think the meteors will stop? I'm not sure. But I would figure a couple more days for the large volume to drop off, and hope that the moon's orbit is moving into their path and will block them. That would intercept a lot of them. Michael paused for a moment as he thought. No, the moon's going the wrong way. The moon is going the wrong way to the far side of the earth. Ugh, Michael grunted in frustration. So it continues again tonight. I think it will. As the Earth passes through the asteroid's path, and we are lined up with the track, and we are lined up with the track of the asteroids following the big one. What are the odds of some of them being pulled into the decaying orbit tonight, or tomorrow? I don't have any idea, but it has to be higher than last night. Just thinking of that makes my stomach do flip-flops, Kimberly moaned. Now I'm not even hungry. I know, but we need to run first and eat afterwards. We have a lot to do. You're right. Let's get our gear on and start our run. Michael, Kimberly, Peyton, and Abigail started their run. Abigail was the only one smiling. When they passed the maintenance building, Larry and 30 more joined them. As they passed the Jacob Lake Inn, another 20 joined them. Our numbers are growing, Larry said with a smile. Just don't burn out the newbies, Peyton added. At 1 mile from the inn, Michael called out to those following. If you've not done the circuit A, you have not done circuit A for a week, then the trail to the right back to the campground. Then take the trail to the right back to the campground maintenance building. About half peeled off. About another mile later, Michael called out again. The path to the left is 2.25 miles back to the campground. To the right is 8 miles. Make your choice. There's no walking to the right. We run all the way. Michael, Kimberly, Larry, and Peyton, and 4 others who were cross-country runners turned right. Abigail and the rest turned left. When they returned to the maintenance building after their run, they went to a couple of tables against the south walls and began stripping off their gear. Peyton again began to mutter and did so louder with each thud of Michael's and Kathy's gear hitting the table. Staff Sergeant, give it a rest, Larry chuckled. But LT, it's just not right. Peyton, Kimberly spoke softly. Were you still doing PT for the last 2 months? No, he answered hesitantly. It's been 6 months since we did PT, Larry interjected. I have been training all summer for matches. When school started, I had hang on. When school started, I had PE and weight training. Michael was at scout camp as a merit badge counselor for archery and personal fitness all summer, except for the weekends that he had an archery competition on. He also had PE and weight training at school. Since the news broke about the asteroids, we've been working hard getting our supplies together, packing and moving our belongings. Then when we realized we were neglecting our running, we started again with the goal to be able to run in full gear. First, it was just each of us separately, then together. We have been pushing ourselves hard to build up our endurance for time and distance and weight that we can carry. This event scares the complacency out of us. It's going to get a lot worse, she sighed heavily. That's why Michael and I train so hard. We wish that we had been more diligent during the summer. She paused again. Please don't take this the wrong way. We're lucky that we are so young. Our bodies are still developing and responding to the abuse our hard work, to the abuse of our hard workouts better than those that are 10 years older than us. That's the truth, Peyton said. 10 years ago, I wouldn't be griping so much. Don't get me wrong, I would be griping, just not as much. Amen, Larry said. Larry and several of the parents said. The response was not what she was expecting. Kimberly and I started our starting night runs tonight, Michael said, before Peyton could complain. Light gear, bows and arrows, blades, night vision goggles. Well, goggles for me. Who else is supposed to go with you two? No one tonight. We've been and will continue to evaluate everyone to find out those we want to assemble, those that we want to assemble. Hang on, there's a word missing here. I got to figure out what it is. We have been and will continue to evaluate everyone to find those that we want to assemble in small special teams. There we go. Okay, it looks like everything's back. Yeah, everything's back there, so I can. Yeah, so the everything was frozen, and yes, it says chat connect is reconnected. Everything's reconnected again. Internet's acting weird today. Um, uh, there is a small corona hole moving across the southern face of the sun. That could be putting out some plasma that is acting up with things. But yeah, I don't know what that was a long hang up there. That was over a minute and a half there. So yeah. All right. Let's get back at it, guys. It's all right. It says we got my thing up above me here says that there are 6 people watching. So I only know of 4 that are that are talking in the chat. So, all right. All right, Kimberly. Well, Kimberly and I are starting night runs tonight. Michael said, and added before Peyton could complain. Light gear, bows, arrows, blades, night vision goggles. Well, goggles for me. Who else supposed to go with the two of you? Larry asked cautiously. No one else tonight. We have been and will continue to evaluate everyone to find those that we want to assemble in small special teams. Michael answered. So you don't have to. You don't if you don't want to. So if you don't want to have the LTME on it, Peyton asked, sort of relieved that he won't have to do night runs, and sort of irritated that they didn't want him on the team. What we want and need you two to do is this: head up the other teams, head up the other teams with everyone else. You have the experience to lead the main group, Kimberly said and bowed. And what will your special team be doing? Larry asked, a little concerned. We're not quite sure. We're still checking everyone for special talents that we could use. But whatever it is, it'll be covert, silent, and demoralizing, Kimberly said. We're looking for talent, sort of like MacGyver looking for things to use as tools. We will know when we find them, Michael added. Okay, that makes sense, Larry acknowledged. Well then, let's get the classes going. They were breaking for lunch when the group at Marble Canyon radioed about another chapter of the biker gang that tried to cross the bridge. They were able to dissuade them by showing the leaders the damage from the earthquakes and the scouring in the canyon walls from the massive water release from the Glen Canyon Dam. The bikers said they were going to Fredonia, but with the damage to the bridge, they decided to take the long way through Page and Kanab to Fredonia. I seriously doubt they were headed to Fredonia, Larry said. I saw the circles of death going over here for a second. It's like, oh, no, not again. We have about 2.5 hours before they reach Fredonia. That is, if they don't stop to raid along the way. We better warn Page, Fredonia, and Kanab and Fredonia about them. The hams in Marble Canyon already contacted those in Page. And I radioed Brian Judd said, and I radioed the Fredonia City Marshal and the Kanab Police Department. Did the Marble Canyon group say how many bikers there were? Kimberly asked. They couldn't tell. Most of the motorcycles and pickups stayed up around the bend of the highway. They did see 3 fuel tankers with trailers and 4 53-foot semi-foot trailers. 3 were labeled grocery store and 1 for Costco. There were 3 U-Haul trucks that had no idea what was in them, but they counted 6 pickups and 120 motorcycles. That's a lot of bikers, George Peterson noted. Can we even stand up against such a force? Dan Robinson asked. Why not? A girl in Idaho and a bunch of venture scouts took out over 100 of them, and she was using single-action ball and cap pistols, Abigail countered. Yes, but she was the state quick draw champion or something like that, one of the moms said. So Michael is a state champion. Kimberly is a champion. Lieutenant Robinson and Staff Sergeant Grimm are Army. And she paused and turning bright red. And what, Abigail? Michael asked sternly, as if she was going to let somebody's secret out. I took third at the Nationals for Big Bore PPC long distance, 500 yards in silent mode. No, Michael yelled. I don't want anyone under 17 snipe shooting. I prefer that no one under 18 should be shooting at all, but that would be two-faced as Kimberly and I are still 17. So am I, Nora said, and I'll be sniping at them from the bushes. I hunt with a 308 like my dad, Robert said proudly. You're 18, Robert, Monica said. Abigail's 13. I'm 15 and I have a Ruger 338 Lapua with a can. And I hunt at 800 yards, Tamara Jefferson said. And don't you dare try to stop me, she added with fists on her hip. If you do, we fight. And I warn you, I have long nails and I bite. Several other teenagers stepped forward, demanding to shoot. Michael, Larry spoke up, motioning with his hands for everyone else to be quiet. You don't seem to have a problem with those under 18 being on the explosives team. I do, but they don't have to watch those killed by their handiwork close up. Snipers get this. Snipers see them close up in their scopes and see. Well, I don't want anyone under 18 seeing what their bullet does to a living person. Michael, they're not people. They are disease scum, worse than rats. Kimberly growled in a tone that told Michael she was not happy with him. Michael started to speak, but Kimberly's expression stopped him. If Abigail wants to snipe, she can snipe if she earns the right, Kimberly said emphatically. Abigail, yes, Kimberly, you have to watch the gross post-traumatic stress disorder video for the next 90 minutes. You can't close your eyes or turn your head away, or you can't snipe. Is that clear? Yes, Abigail said with a bit of uncertainty. What if I barf and keep my eyes on the video? If you barf and keep your eyes on the video and still want to snipe, then you can, Kimberly answered. But Michael started. No buts, Michael snapped. No double standards. If I can shoot scum, then Abigail can shoot the scum. Michael stood with his mouth hanging open. What? She's my little sister, he choked out, and I have to look out for her. You have to let her grow and experience life, Kimberly replied. Everyone else too. You're not their father. She's right, Michael, Janet said as she and Benjamin came in carrying containers of food. Your fathers and I are the ones that get to act as her parents while she's here. Understand? Yes, Mom. So what has everybody on the edge for? About 150 bikers and supply trucks, Larry said. And who gets to fight and who has to stay home, Peyton added. With that many bikers, everyone that can use a rifle needs to shoot, Benjamin said flatly. Everyone, Dad? Michael asked in surprise. Everyone. I don't want to take casualty. Everyone needs to shoot. That includes those that are archers only. We need to wipe them out quickly. Wouldn't you say so, Lieutenant? Yes, a quick, decisive battle is best. One that doesn't give them a chance to fight back and hurt us, Larry said. Doing that depends on our ability to get things Doing that depends on our ability to get things set up. That isn't about our ability to get things set up. That's not what I'm missing here. Hang on. Set up for a good trap. And if we know which way they will and if we know which way they'll come from Fredonia, we have almost 2 hours. We can block the access to the back roads and set up a trap on the main highway, George suggested. With a tree down across the highway to stop them and the claymores, we can take most of them out in one shot. Then we can mop up with rifle fire from cover, Peyton said. Or we can call Marshal Pratt and have him remove the barricade at the sign so they come straight up the highway. He can block off the two access roads to the two main access roads to the back roads. Then we can hit them at a place of our choosing on the highway, Kimberly said. But the claymores have to be individually controlled so we don't damage the fuel tankers or the food trailers if they stop in front of one, Michael added. The hairpin curve just past the LaFair overlook and rest area is a good spot, Bob Miller said. They have to slow down to 40, and if we toss a few rocks out on the highway, they will slow down even more. Big rocks, Larry asked. One or two or six, like pieces of the embankment, broke loose and rolled across the eastbound lane into the westbound lane, and leave a bunch of small softball sized ones, like they broke off of the big as the big ones rolled. That'll keep the trucks in the eastbound lane and slow all the motorcycles down to 10 to 15 miles an hour or less, Bob explained. Is there good cover and concealment there? Larry asked. Sure thing, Lieutenant. The inside of the hairpin is uphill, and there are plenty of trees and rocks to hide behind. From the center of the hill, you can see all the drivers and any cars on the highway. There might be a small 100-foot stretch that motorcycles might not be totally visible, but you can tell where the trucks are so you don't blow them up. Well, let's hurry and eat lunch so we can get out there and get set up before they get here, Larry said. They were packing up the gear they needed for their trap when Jennifer Jefferson came running outside saying the TV was working and there was a special announcement coming on in 10 minutes. They hurried and finished loading their gear and returned to the maintenance building where Jennifer's mom was connecting the TV up to the projector. Then the image of a clock counting down appeared with 24 seconds on it. At 10 seconds, the seal of the President of the United States appeared, and the clock shrank to one corner of the screen. When it reached 0, a voice came over the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, a special message from Ronald William Lepetibane, President of the United States of America. The seal faded and the president appeared. My fellow Americans, this message is being broadcast on all television, AM, FM frequencies, major ham radio contact frequencies. We are working on reestablishing communications across the country. We will be broadcasting updates as we can. First of all, we need to inform you that the effects of the asteroid were far greater than we calculated. Tomorrow's broadcast will contain a list of those effects. Today we are testing the new communications network and will give you a few announcements about changes in the government. Second, it is great sadness to inform you of the death of Vice President Dick Morrison and the entire population of Cheyenne Mountain. After After conferring with the surviving members of Congress, we have selected Senator Matt Mitchell, President Pro Tem of the Senate, to replace Dick Morrison as Vice President of these United States. 3 hours ago, Matt Mitchell was sworn in at the house of Sheriff Walt Rogers in Idaho by attorney and public notary Mark Rogers. We will now watch that ceremony, and then the administrator of FEMA will provide an update on the East Coast states. The image faded. The image of the president faded, and the frozen image of a number of people standing in front of an enormous fireplace. Hang on here. APPEARED appeared. Then the image began to move with people taking places behind Senator Matt Mitchell. When everybody was in place, the image froze, and the names or titles over each person and titles appeared over each person for several seconds before it unfroze and the ceremony began. After the ceremony concluded, the image changed and the administrator of FEMA appeared. Are you recording this, Kelly? Monica asked. I'm sure I am. Okay, we can watch this later. Monica's right. We need to get to the trap site, Larry said. They headed outside and got into various vehicles and followed Bob to the ambush location. Kimberly handed the keys to her F-350 to Larry for him to drive. Michael sat in the middle and Kimberly stared out the side window. Kimberly, is something wrong? Nora asked from the back seat. Kimberly just stayed out the window. Kimberly, no response. Angel of death, the red assassin, wake up, and Nora gave her a little nudge. Huh, what? Kimberly said, coming out of her fog. What's wrong? Nothing. BS, girlfriend. Get your head in the game and tell me what's wrong. Kimberly sighed heavily. It was part of the video where everyone was frozen with their names or title over them. What about it? Did you read everyone, especially the girl in black? I was too busy with some of the others and missed hers. What was so special about her? Michael jumped in. It said Under Sheriff Lightning Death, and she was holding the sheriff's hand. Cool nickname, but hers was the only nickname. And you would expect that the federal government wouldn't use nicknames for a historical video, Kimberly noted. Now that is strange, Nora said, suddenly pick up on the oddity. They don't want her real name being used, Michael said. But why? It's obvious she's the sheriff's girlfriend, Kimberly said. There has got to be something on the internet about here. We can go looking when we get back, Nora commented. All right. I'm going to wrap it up here. We're just about at 3 hours total, and this is a good place to stop it. So I'm going to highlight this in yellow so I know where I stopped at. Let me make it a little bit bigger just to make sure I get it all. There we go. It makes it easier when I scroll back trying to find the place where I'm at. All right, so here's what's coming up. In an hour and 10 minutes, I'll be going live. Froze. I'll be going live again with Shadow Scout Swede, UK Urban Prepper, the Sofa Survivalist, World Survivalist, and a couple others. And today's topic is 10 preps that help you sleep better at night. And that starts at 2 Eastern time, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Then at 8 o'clock Eastern time, just on my channel only, is Survival Saturday. Tonight's topic is after the micronova, what are your plans? Tomorrow morning, we will pick up right where we're at here at 10 o'clock Eastern. Monday at 11 o'clock Eastern in the morning, we will pick up wherever we finish off tomorrow. Monday night on Camp Patton Family Compound is canning sauces. Then every Monday through Friday is at 11 o'clock for editing the novels. And Tuesday for Tactical Tuesday is creating a prepper group. And I'll go over some of the do's and don'ts on that. Thursday is a midnight ride. Friday on Camp Patton is seed starting, garden seed starting. And next Saturday is after the banks are taken over. What are your plans for Survival Saturday? All right, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for all of you that stayed till the end. Hang on, let me get back up here. For all of you that stayed until the end. And we will. So we'll be back in about an hour or so. All right. Okay, let me get this up here. And that's it. So we'll see you in about an hour.